Hey, this is Corey from Fuel Your Photos, and today I'm going to be reviewing AshleyNotley.com. And I have actually already looked at this site because Ashley asked a question over in the Show It 5 Users group, and I went to check out to see if I could find the answer, but we're going to open this just like we normally do so we can kind of get the impact of the initial load. And I'm going to kind of go through my normal review process here, and then I'll get into the specific questions that Ashley had. But first of all, I just want to say, what are my first impressions? My question is always, what is this website about? And, as I look here at the logo, I can see that it's a photography company or business or a person who is a photographer. And, as I see these pictures on this first load, I can see couples. I can see, I think the first image was someone in a wedding dress, maybe a couple walking. Yeah, there it is. And so I assume this is a wedding photographer, so the site's about wedding photography. I mean, obviously you have to know, I know what the site's about, but in these reviews I try to look at it from the perspective of someone who wouldn't know necessarily what the site is about, and try to make sure that I can get it even if I were someone who had no idea where I was landing. So the next question is, what services are offered and where? So again, my assumption here is that the services that are going to be offered are going to be wedding photography related. And from the home page, I can't necessarily confirm that. I have to go to another page. I can see portfolio and info, and I see more wedding images, so this kind of helps confirm that wedding photography services are offered. But as far as where, I don't really get any clue to that here on the home page, other than potentially like knowing some of the locations in the pictures, which actually most of these are pretty generic, so I wouldn't necessarily know that either. So the first thing I want to do, and what do I expect? I always try not to scroll down first, but that was the first thing I wanted to do, was scroll down, and I expected to get more information. I was expecting to find some information about, again, where this photographer is located, and but I did get some of this information, like about and portfolio and info, so hopefully the other information here is behind these. So I want to click. Now, one thing I notice here is that when I try to click the images, nothing happens. I have to actually hit on the word like info here. So let's click on that because that's what I want to know. Okay, so I get some information, wedding packages starting at, portrait sessions starting at, some frequently asked questions, how do I book, I'm interested, what's next, engagement session. Okay, so that's good. Let's see about. All right, learn a little bit about Ashley here. All right, her obsessions, camp girl, the why. All of these are good things, but so far I still haven't found where you're located, not even in the header here or in the page title. So right now I've looked all over your site and I have no idea where you're located. Let's see, I guess maybe if we go to portfolio, I'm just going to look through one of these. Okay, again, no text that tells me where these pictures are taken. If I scroll through, see if I can find anything that definitely tells me. See, again, I'm not sure exactly the location here. This is going to be important when I answer the questions. Again, obviously, when I do this part of the review, I'm trying to be from the perspective of someone who doesn't know these things, and I already know these things. I'm not just dumb. I know it sounds like that whenever I make these reviews. Also here, like, I'm trying to click and nothing's happening. I'm not sure if maybe there's an arrow over. It looks like, there we go. Notice how if these arrows are white and we land on something like this and I can't see that arrow, I can't just click somewhere else. I have to actually hit the arrow, and that makes it really hard to navigate through this gallery. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. I've already kind of gone through some of the pages as I would have wanted to naturally explore the site. Most things work kind of as I expect, other than that just now with the gallery and the arrows. Let's see, any other notable things I want to do? Let's go ahead and see the contact page because I might want to get in touch. So this gives me at least some kind of hint. If I'm in the area, I would know this area code. If it's a local area code, it would tell me that you're located within the same area code, and that might give me some confirmation. Again, that's something that search engines look at, and users can potentially gather that information subconsciously. But that's not enough, of course. I think that needs to be much, much clearer. All right, so let's go ahead. That kind of gives us, as far as anything else. Oh, by the way, I tried to click on the logo to go home, and that didn't happen. It's kind of a standard user experience or user interface thing where you click on a logo and it takes you back to the home page, and that doesn't do that. That would be an easy fix for you to just turn that into a link back to your home page. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of start with the SEO part of this conversation or this review, and kind of start that with the question that was asked over in the group. So basically what Ashley said is she went from show it desktop to show it 5 and just published this past week, went from page 4 or 5 on Google to can't even find herself anymore, and she's Googling Ottawa wedding photographer. Any thoughts on how to let Google know she still exists? Trying to ask about what needs to be done in Search Console, and there's an error with the sitemap and things like that. Okay, so all of that makes sense whenever you switch from show it desktop to show it 5. There are a lot of changes that can happen, and what you need to realize right now is notice how I just went through your entire site, and I didn't go through your blog, so that's not fair. I didn't go through the entire site. I went through all of the non-blog pages on your site and couldn't find anything about your location. I didn't see the word Ottawa a single time. And even here on this first page of the blog, I'm still not seeing the word Ottawa here either. And that's why I have to go into old posts. So I'm kind of on the... Still haven't seen it. Here it is for the first time on the second page of the blog. So, that's the kind of thing. If that's the case, then it doesn't surprise me at all that you're not showing up for Ottawa wedding photographer, because Google needs to have some clues to know that that's what this site is about. So this site is not a relevant search result for Ottawa wedding photographer if it doesn't ever even mention the fact that you're in Ottawa. It doesn't have an address, doesn't even mention it in the title or the meta description or anywhere else on the page. So it makes sense that you're not ranking for that. So let's kind of get into some of the things that have happened here. Well, actually, I'm kind of have my little audit sheet over on the other screen. So let's look at one thing here. Okay, so that's good. It's redirecting to the non-www version. Let's see if the blog does the same thing. Sometimes that's not the case. Okay, good. Both versions of the domain are redirecting here to the non-www version, and the blog does the same thing. So we're good on that. But the next things I have page title, meta description, headings, body copy, alt text. So let's look. We're just going to pull up the Moz bar really quickly, and we'll just turn this on the home page. So notice here, page title and meta description. Page title is home, and meta description is not found. Your H1 is explore, which the H1 should be the main topic of the page. So if Google says, what is this page about? Google is saying, well, we might think this is about wedding photography, but they're telling us that this site is about explore. It's about exploration. That doesn't match up with what we thought. So since our confidence score is really low on this, we're not going to rank it for wedding photography, even though that's what we thought it was about. That's kind of how that works with the headings. No alt text. So you have none of these of the most important things, page title, meta description, headings, and alt text, and even body copy. If we look down here, there's no text on this page other than these headings for these sections right here and these links. That's the only text on the entire page. So, we have a lot of things missing as far as the elements that are going to let Google know what your site is about. But let's go back even further here and get more specific about what's going on. So I'm just doing a site search for your domain. Basically, this just tells us all the pages that are indexed. If we look here, we have 1,210 pages indexed, and that's not bad. It means you have a lot of pages on your site, and Google knows what they are. Now, it might be bad because it's indexing all these archive pages that may be thin content. Who knows if these even work? Let's check and see what happens when I click on one of these. Maternity photos. Okay, so it is pulling it in, so that's good. But notice if we go back up to the top, you have some pages up here, some of these old pages. So let's just click on Faves, Brittany, Lifestyle. I'm just going to hit a few of these and see what happens. So Faves is not found. Brittany is not found. Lifestyle is found, and it is a selection of favorites in the lifestyle. So it's a lifestyle gallery. So basically what that tells me is, you just went live and Google has all of these pages indexed from your site before, and indexed means that they're in the Google index. Google knows about these pages and it has this information saved about them, and whenever it tries to look for a site, whenever someone types in something like Ottawa wedding photographer, it's going to look in its index and say, hey, look, here's a site about that. But right now, whenever Google goes to this page, it's saying, oh, this page is not there. And so very soon, what will happen is this page will drop out of the results completely. So this, where it says 1210 results, is going to start going down because these pages don't exist anymore. Some of these pages don't exist anymore. And so Google will de-index these pages that don't exist. Also we can look at site:/AshleyNotley.com and then put the word Ottawa afterwards to see like how many pages Google thinks are about Ottawa. And so you can see that some of these it still thinks. Now it doesn't have your home page there, but it has some of these other blog pages and things like that. Some category archives or tag archives potentially. Yeah, that's a tag. So you could potentially rank with one of these blog posts, or these tag archives, but just that's not usually going to be the case with a competitive keyword. So if you're trying to rank for something like Ottawa wedding photographer, a blog post is not typically going to rank on the first few pages because Google knows the intent is to find kind of the main website of a photographer and not necessarily just one blog post. And so anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that, but let's see here if there's anything else that just jumps out. Let's see what this page does. So notice here, like the home page, or I guess this is home, which this is kind of confusing too, but the root of the domain now says Ashley Notley Photography Blog as the page title, and then you have this as the meta description. Here you have Ottawa wedding photographer, Ashley Notley Photography, which this is actually getting close to what you actually want. I recommend putting the brand first and then the keyword on your homepage especially. And I know some SEOs will be like, what? That's not what I heard. But we've found that after analyzing lots of different SERPs that Google is usually rewriting this anyway. Again, don't have time to go into all that in this review, but just anyway, the point is, if you made it this Ashley Notley Photography : Ottawa wedding photographer, that would be a pretty good page title. And it looks like you had that kind of thing on your old site, but that's not the case anymore. So if we go to your site now, okay, so one thing just to note here, when I hover over this, actually I'll pull it up here so you can see it. See this Ashley Notley Photography Blog, and then there's no space, and then page not found. This is a little weird thing about Show It blogs. If you're using the Yoast plugin, you can actually fix this really easily just by switching one setting where it says force rewrites. I can't remember exactly which tab it's on. I think it's in the hang on, I'm gonna pause this and go find it. Okay, I couldn't find it exactly on mine. The option wasn't there, but it should be under titles and metas in the Yoast settings, where you see force rewrites, and you can turn that on and it will fix this problem for you. And I found that that's the easiest way to fix this issue. So just a note for anyone else watching who's on Show It 5 that Yoast can fix this issue, and you don't have to go in there and delete the site title from the settings or anything like that. Okay, so now I've lost my train of thought now that I paused it. Let's go back over here, and we're going to look at kind of what you have now. So again, page title, you have just home, and that should be, back to what you had it before or something similar. Like I said, Ashley Notley Photography, Ottawa Wedding Photographer, that should be the page title here, and then you should have a meta description written out. It can include your keywords. The main thing here is that it's compelling to click. So whenever someone sees it in a search result, it makes them want to click that result because click-through rate is more important than having the exact keywords in the meta description. And then H1 right here where it says explore, I would recommend making this H1 say something like Ottawa Wedding Photographers, if that's your main keyword, because that's going to tell Google that's the main point of this page. Explore doesn't help a user or Google to know what's coming or what the page is about. Remember when I first landed on this and I was trying to figure out what the page was about, if this says Ottawa Wedding Photographers, there's no doubt left in my mind because I know exactly what it is after reading it. And then as far as text on the page, I would still recommend having somewhere on the page, even if it's down here under this featured section where you have a paragraph that just says a little bit about you, and maybe take something from the about section where you talked about the why and put a sentence or two here. Now, ideally, this would have 300 to 500 words on your homepage, but I know that's not realistic for some photographers, so at least have some text on your homepage and mention Ottawa in there as well. So those are just a few really basic tips for you on things you could do. But mainly what needs to happen here is when you switched, you had all of these pages, and now you don't have these pages anymore. So ideally, you would want every page that existed before to be mapped out to a new location on the new site. And if that doesn't happen, then those pages are going to have 404 errors. And that's okay in some cases where you don't need that information anymore, but you don't want to have like dozens of 404 errors all at the same time on all of the main pages. But the most important thing is that your main pages here, so like home, about, portfolio, info, blog, contact, these need to have appropriate page titles, meta descriptions, and headings, main headings, the H1s. And that would make a huge difference, especially if you include location words. And then if you want to get even further into it, notice that the only thing you have here, I guess you have phone number and email address. That's pretty good. If you have an address that's actually in Ottawa, then that would be extremely beneficial for Google to even verify further that you are there. So let's just do a quick, let's just search for not sure if I even spelled that right. Okay, so here you have an address listed in Google and verified with Google, this 268 Columbus Avenue. So if you list this on your website and make sure this phone number matches the one that you have listed, let's see there, 8846, yep. So, if that matches up, then Google can say, hey, look, this is the same site that we have, where did it go? That we have verified in Google My Business. And so, if this links to that website and then that website has this information, it's just one big verified loop of information that tells Google, yep, this is definitely what we're looking for. So I would recommend listing this address somewhere on your site, at least on the contact page. And you could even put it down here and say like by appointment only, or mailing address or something like that if you don't want people showing up there if it's not a studio. But having it on your site would be nice. And even down here in this kind of like footer / copyright area, you can put your business name, phone number, email address. I wouldn't put all of that necessarily. I do on my website, but you could at least put your business name and phone number down here in the footer just to kind of have that consistently throughout the site. So again, I try to keep these reviews to around 20 minutes, and we're kind of hitting that now, so I don't want to ramble on and on, but I think there's some key things here you can fix. Just getting those page titles and meta descriptions set up will make a really big difference for you, and hopefully get you back where you need to be. As far as the XML Sitemap, you have one set up with a plugin, it looks like, from WordPress. So this is using the Google Sitemap Generator plugin. I'm not sure why you're having an error with it. Potentially you had an old XML Sitemap, and now there's a new one that's taken over that old one, and so you need to resubmit this in Search Console. But this is the URL that you would want to submit in Search Console and try to get that to work. If you need more help, of course, just ask questions. I'd be happy to see what I can do to help. I have a course that walks through a lot of these things, and if you're interested, I can get you the information on how to sign up for that. So just let me know how I can help, and if anyone else is watching this and wants their site reviewed, you can just go to fuelyourphotos.com/reviews and fill out that form, and it will add you to my list, and I'll get to your site as well. And if you have any questions, specific questions, you can head over to the Fuel Your Photos Facebook group and just drop your questions in there so that I can make sure I answer them if I do your review. All right, hope this was helpful. Let me know how else I can help.